The moment you were born, your destiny had already been written, but you didn't know it. Your name, your past, and your family would be erased from your mind. In their place, a war machine forged from steel and fury, one that made the world tremble, would be built. When you opened your eyes, the first thing you saw was the eternal gray mist of the Balkans. The air that filled your lungs carried the scent of burnt wood and the heavy metallic taste of damp soil. You were born in a small village hidden among the mountains, somewhere in what today might be called Serbia or perhaps Bosnia or Albania, so small it didn't even appear on maps. A place forgotten even by God at times, where winter froze bones and summer scorched the earth. Your father was a Christian villager, a man whose calloused hands worked the soil and whose back had bent too early under the weight of burdens. The lines on your mother's face were like a map of the hardships she had endured, yet whenever she looked at you, those lines softened with the purest form of love and tenderness. Your world was not a large one. It consisted of the wooden church in the center of the village, the flock of sheep on the hillside, and the old stories told by the fire at night. Your social class was clear. You were Rea, bound to the land, paying taxes to lords, living a nameless, humble life whose fate rested on the words of others. You wore a rough wool sweater that scratched your skin, and on your feet were simple carrick made of animal hide. Look at your hands. Those small, dirty hands did not yet know how to hold a sword. They only knew how to dig soil, shear sheep, and cling to your mother's skirt. You were only 6 or 7 years old. Under the old plane tree in the village square, you built mud castles with the other children. The sound of the wind felt like a lullaby, but that wind carried something from the south, messages from that enormous empire beyond the seas, the Ottoman Empire. You overheard the whispers of the adults. When the firelight flickered across your father's worried face at night, even though you didn't understand the words, you felt the fear behind them. They said Turnasabesai. They said Devshirme. You didn't know what these words meant, but the tremble in your father's voice felt like a warning of a danger drawing near. And that moment was when the innocent curtain of your childhood began to tear. The air grew colder. Smoke rose. One morning, the village dogs barked in a strange, ferocious way. A sound you had never heard before approached from the valley. Hoofbeats. Not a single horse. Steady, rhythmic, ground-shaking hoofbeats of an entire cavalry unit. The earth trembled. You stood up, abandoning your game. Your heartbeat raced to match those hoofbeats. The village priest stepped out of the church, his face pale as chalk. Your father came running from the fields, out of breath. Your mother grabbed your arm and pushed you into the darkest corner of the house, behind the sacks of flour. "Don't make a sound," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Don't look outside." But you looked. Curiosity pulled your gaze to the thin beam of light slipping through the crack in the wooden door. Men wearing red kaftan, with long and strange bork on their heads, dismounted their horses. The swords at their belts gleamed with a deadly brilliance under the sun. They were Ottomans, the most elite, the most feared officials of the empire. The village headman offered the village register with trembling hands. The man in the red kaftan, the Turnasabesai, examined it. His eyes swept over the crowd the way a hawk surveys it. Esprit. While the smell of the flour sacks burned your throat, you acted on an instinctive urge. Would fear paralyze you or push you toward your destiny? Most children would have frozen in that corner. But you, perhaps because of the warrior blood inside you that you had not yet discovered, crawled toward the door. Your curiosity was stronger than your fear. The door suddenly burst open. The light that poured in blinded you. A soldier, his shadow towering like a giant, stood at the threshold. Your mother's scream tore through your ears. The soldier grabbed you by the arm and dragged you into the cold, gray square. That moment, that first touch, that foreign hand gripping your skin, were the last seconds of your life as Luca, a Christian villager's son. The Turnasabesai grabbed your chin and forced your head upward. He examined your teeth, touched your shoulders, looked into your eyes. Not like one inspects an object, but like one evaluates an uncut diamond. This child, he said, his voice echoing like a verdict across the square. This child has fire. This child belongs to the Devlataya lie. Time stopped. Your mother's cries, your father's helpless stare, the familiar smell of the village, all of it fell away. You had been chosen. You did not know why. Perhaps the stubborn spark in your eyes, or the breadth of your shoulders. But you were chosen. This decision was the first step on a path that would make you unforgettable. You were no longer the son of your family, you were now the servant of the Padissa. A new day was beginning, but it was not lit by any sun you had or known. The village, your small and safe refuge, became a tiny dot fading into the horizon. You walk alongside dozens of other children chosen like you, crying, afraid, unable even to fully understand one another's languages. The old carrick on your feet are already falling apart on the rocky roads. The march lasts not days but weeks. You descend from the rugged mountains of the Balkans toward the wide plains of Thrace. This journey is your first training. The weak fall behind, the sick collapse on the road. But you keep walking. That stubborn fire inside you keeps you standing. At night, around the campfire, you listen to the stories told by the soldiers in red kaftan. They speak of Kizil Elma. They speak of Istanbul, the center of the world, the queen of cities. You cannot fully imagine these words. For you, the largest building you had ever seen was the village church. What kind of place could this Istanbul be, you wonder? And a few days later, the moment comes. When you crest the hills, you see those colossal walls. They look as though mountains were carved by human hands and placed by the sea. Istanbul. Minarets rising like spears toward the sky, domes shimmering like gold, a dream drifting on the water. The moment you pass through the city gate, your senses are hit by a violent storm. The smell, a dizzying mixture of spices you've never encountered, the sea, the sweat of thousands of people, roasted fish, and incense fills your lungs. The noise, the hammering of blacksmiths, the shouts of merchants, the neighing of horses, the hum of people speaking in countless languages. Your eyes widen at the explosion of colors. After the gray and brown tones of your village, this place feels like the very spot where the rainbow bursts open. Silk, velvet, gleaming armor. You and the other children are taken to the barracks called Asami Okajai. This is your new home. But it resembles a workshop more than a home. A workshop that manufactures men. The moment you step through the door, your past is left behind it. The first ritual begins. A dervish approaches you, his eyes gentle but his posture stern. They wash you, cleansing you of the dirt of the village, the dust of your past. Then your Christian name is taken away. Your name is now Ali, they say, or Suleiman, or Murad. A new name, a new destiny. You raise your index finger and repeat the words in a language you do not yet understand, but whose rhythm sinks deep into your core. At that moment, the weight of the invisible cross around your neck lifts, and the weight of an invisible sword replaces it. Then the harsh reality of the Okak hits you like a slap in the face. The Asami Aga, holding a staff, orders you all into line. One child, the blonde one who perhaps came from your village, begins to cry because he misses his mother. The Aga's reaction is sudden and merciless. The staff slices through the air and cracks across the boy's back. There is no mother here. No father, the Aga roars. Here there is only the state. Only obedience. In that moment you make a quick decision. Will you swallow your tears or will you show your weakness like that boy did? Most people would have broken at that moment. Most would have surrendered their spirit. But you grit your teeth. You lock your gaze onto the Aga's eyes. I'm not saying you're not afraid, you are. But you wear your fear like armor. The Aga notices your gaze. He lowers the staff and nods slightly. That silent approval is your first victory. Your days are no longer spent in the fields but on the training ground. You rise with the morning call to prayer and work until the sun sets. You carry wood-bee, reek stones, labor in the gardens. Your body changes. The scrawny village boy disappears, replaced by a youth with hardened muscles, calloused hands and sharpened eyes. Your meals are simple, bulgur soup and a loaf of bread. But this food gives you the strength of the empire. You learn Turkish. This language becomes your new weapon. You learn Islam. This faith becomes your new shield. Every day you look at the massive cauldron standing in the center of the Okak, the Kazan-i Serif. That cauldron is the symbol of your unity, your brotherhood, and your loyalty to the Padishah. To betray that cauldron is to betray yourself. One day in the courtyard of the palace, you see the Padishah from afar, riding his horse wrapped in a jeweled kaftan, passing like a demigod. The silence around him, the respect, the magnificence, the yearning inside you ignites at that moment. One day, you say to yourself, one day I will walk beside that horse. One day I will be part of that power. That yearning becomes your fuel. When you lie in your bed at night, you no longer imagine your village, the sheep, or your mother's face. You imagine the clash of swords, the cries of victory, and the glorious Janissary uniform you will one day wear. For the first time, you truly see the world, and what you see is an arena where the weak have no place. Only the strong survive. And you swear to become the strongest in that arena. The firelight shines on your face. And on that face there is no longer the sense of a child, but the determination of a warrior. Years pass. The winds of Thrace have scraped away the childish softness on your face. There is nothing left of that village boy. Your body is now as hard as the stones of the Galata Tower, as dangerous as the waters of the Golden Horn. The years you spent as an Assami Oglani were built on breaking a man down and rebuilding him. Your days were spent carrying heavy loads through the gardens of Istanbul, chopping wood for the palace and rowing the stone barges. This was the final stage before rising in rank. Look at your hands. Those hands no longer carry only loads, now they strike wet marble. Marble beating. It is not enough for your hands to grow calloused. Your bones and nerves must grow numb. Every morning, the crack of your palm hitting that marble block becomes your prayer. At first you cried from the pain, your wrists swelling. Now the marble cracks, yet your expression doesn't change. The time has come. It is the moment of Kapia Sigma. This is not merely a graduation, it is a rebirth. They gather you and your cohort in a great square. All eyes are fixed on the Korbasabesai, standing before those massive cauldrons. They are the ones who decide which unit you will be assigned to. This choice will determine your family, your grave, and your destiny. But first your soul must be sealed. They bring you before a Bektasi elder. The room is dim, lit only by flickering candlelight and the heavy scent of rose oil. The elder looks into your eyes. Those who enter this path may give their head, but never their secret, he says. Your family is now the Okak. Your father is the Padishah, and your mother is that cauldron you see there. They make you recite the Gulbank. In that moment, the last thin thread tying you to your Christian past snaps. You are now a disciple of Hasai Bektas Veli. This spiritual bond is what separates you from a mere mercenary. It transforms you into a warrior of faith. You now face the hardest moment of the selection, the archery field. Beside you is Yusuf, an Albanian boy who was taken the same year as you, whom you love like a brother. Yusuf is ill, trembling but trying to stand. If he fails to hit the target, he will not graduate and may be sent to the Bostanchi Corps as a gardener. A fate worse than death for a Janissary candidate. Yusuf's turn comes. His hand slips as he draws the bow. The corporal frowns. Useless, he shouts. Give him one more chance. Then your turn comes. You have the skill to hit the exact center of the target. But you see the desperation in Yusuf's eyes. And at that moment you stand at a crossroads. Should you display your skill, impress the Kavis, and be chosen for the most elite units, Salikler or Pakler? Or should you help Yusuf and accept being sent with him to a more ordinary unit? Most people would choose their own career. But you walk to Yusuf and clap him firmly on the shoulder. Hold your breath, brother, you whisper. When you take your shot, you intentionally hit not the exact center but the edge. You show yourself as talented but imprecise, so that Yusuf's mistake doesn't stand out too much. This act makes the Kavis think of you as skilled but careless, but it allows Yusuf to recover and pass. Yusuf looks at you with gratitude, and you understand something. Becoming a Janissary is not about shooting the best arrow. It is about never abandoning the one beside you. This loyalty will one day save your life on the battlefield. And then comes the day. The day you wear the white, long, backward slanting felt bork upon your head. They call it the uskuf. When you place it on your head, you feel as if your neck has grown 2 inches taller. At your waist hangs your yatagan sword, and in your hand your musket. Now you have a number and a unit. On the day you receive your first ulyuf, your salary, the weight of those silver aki in your palm makes you feel like the richest man alive. You are now the state itself. As you walk through the streets, the people step aside with a mixture of fear and respect. The village boy has become a master of the empire. The sound of the battlefield fades, and in its place rises the earth shaken. Roar of the Meteran, playing the attack march. There is Sefer, they said. The Sultan has raised his tug. The target is the west. Maybe Belgrade, maybe Vienna. Your departure from Istanbul is not a ceremony, it is a show of strength. Thousands, tens of thousands of soldiers march with their feet striking the ground at the same moment. The earth trembles with the rhythm. You are a soldier of the 56th Orda. The march lasts for weeks. Rain falls, mud rises to your knees, the sun heats your armor and burns your skin. But there is no complaint, because you are a Janissary. Camp life becomes your new reality. At night, the massive tent city is no different from a real town. Cauldrons of pilaf boil, the smell of coffee mixes with the smell of gunpowder. Inside the tent, you learn how strict rank and hierarchy truly are. The Korbasai, captain, the Asibasai, the Sakabasi, everyone has a place. This order makes you feel safe. There is no chaos, only discipline. The enemy appears. On the horizon with their gleaming armor, Austrian knights or Hungarian cavalry. It's the first time you see a real army. Your heart races, a cold knot forms in your stomach. Fear. Yes. But this fear doesn't make you flee, it sharpens you. You load your rifle. The sulfurous smell of gunpowder burns your throat. You light the match. You glance at Yusuf beside you. He is praying. The mater begins to play. Oh, oh, boom, boom, boom. That sound boils your blood. The enemy charges. The ground shakes. The commander roars, fire. You pull the trigger. Smoke. Thick, white smoke covers everything. There's ringing in your ears. You can't see anything. Only screams, metal clashing against metal, and gunpowder smoke. A shadow emerges from the fog. An enemy soldier. Only 2 steps between you. Your rifle is empty. It is now Yatagan time. Time slows. You're not thinking anymore. The hand that struck marble during training now grips the blade. This is your greatest test, to kill a man. Can that peasant boy take a life? You swing your sword. The crack of bone. Warm fluid splashes across your face. Blood. The enemy collapses. You watch the light fade from his eyes. Your stomach turns, you want to vomit but you can't stop. More coming. You are no longer a man, you are a machine dealing death. You cut, strike, scream. The wild beast inside you is unleashed. In that moment you understand. War is not heroism. War is the art of survival. And you are very good at this art. When the battle ends, the field is covered with corpses. You are standing. You are coated in blood and mud. But you are alive. Yusuf is alive too. You look at each other and smile. It is the smile of men standing on the edge of madness. After the victory, you enter the enemy camp. Everywhere is filled with loot. Golden candlesticks, silk fabrics, silver plates. Some soldiers rush wildly, stuffing their pockets. You spot a jeweled dagger. You reach for it. That dagger could make you rich. But at that moment, you hear the thunderous voice of the Aga. Stop. Whoever loots without permission loses his head. Will you hide the dagger in your clothes and grow rich? or obey the command and preserve discipline. The dagger shines beautifully, but you pull your hand back. When a novice soldier tries to take a silver plate, you strike his hand sharply. "Didn't you hear the order?" you say. This act doesn't just make you a disciplined soldier, it makes you a natural leader in the eyes of the others. An okak agabi. Loot is temporary, but reputation is forever. Your return to Istanbul is magnificent. The people fill the streets, saluting their Gazi warriors. You are no longer an ordinary soldier. You are on the path to becoming Ocharakli, a seasoned veteran. When you enter a coffee house, they seat you in the best corner. Merchants compete to offer you credit. Shopkeepers want to be under your protection. Your social status has taken shape. You are the master of Istanbul. You are the Sultan's servant, but the people's fearful shadow. Your uniform is worth more than your skin. But inside something is missing. The smell of blood on the battlefield never leaves your nose. At night, you see the face of the first man you killed. You grew stronger, wealthier, more respected, but a piece of your soul was left on that battlefield. A new day dawns, and it is the sign of the dark days ahead, where the fate of the empire will balance on the edge of your sword. Years no longer pass like the flow of a river, but like the stillness of a swamp. In the heart of Central Europe, on the plains of Hungary, you stand before a cursed fortress, Sigitvar. The season is autumn, but winter already feels settled in your bones. The rain never stops. The place where your tents stand is no longer a camp but a sea of mud and filth. Your glorious Janissary garments, those bright bork, are covered in mud, their color gone. Hunger. You thought you knew this word before. But now, with your stomach stuck to your spine, even a dry piece of peaham bread tastes like a palace feast. Around you, friends die of dysentery. Their groans are more terrifying than cannon fire. The sacred cauldron of the okak no longer boils as it used to. The soup is thin with no meat. This means the okak is grumbling. A janissary may be cold, may starve, but if the cauldron goes empty, it means something more than hunger. It is the whisper of rebellion. You and your unit are sent to dig tunnels under the fortress. The Lajim Siler go ahead. You carry the barrels of gunpowder. Underground is worse than the world above. Dark, airless, smelling of death. With every strike of the pickaxe, dirt rains down on your head. Claustrophobia coils around your throat. The enemy is above you, but the real enemy is this narrow tunnel. Yusuf is beside you, your old friend, your brother. His face resembles a skeleton. The light in his eyes has gone dull. "We won't return from this, Ali," he whispers. "This land will swallow us." You snap at him. Silence. But deep down you feel the same cold terror. At the end of the tunnel you place the gunpowder barrels. The order comes. Light the fuse. The fuse burns. That small hissing flame carries the fate of you and thousands of others. You run back breathless. Crawling through the muddy tunnel you try to reach the exit. Boom. The earth shakes. The world flips upside down. The shock slams you to the ground. Your ears ring with a piercing whine. Then, through the dust cloud, the commander's savage order echoes. Charge. Enter through the breach. You rise to your feet. Draw your sword. Adrenaline wipes out hunger and exhaustion. You plunge into the dusty, smoky hell. The enemy is ready. Crossbow bolts fall like rain. Soldiers beside you drop one by one. Yusuf is right in front of you. A clash erupts. An armored Austrian soldier swings a massive axe at Yusuf. Yusuf tries to defend himself, but he is too weak. His sword flies from his hand. The axe comes down. Yusuf takes a heavy blow to the shoulder and collapses. At that same moment, the flag, the sacred banner of your unit, is about to fall as the standard bearer is struck down. Time freezes. Everything blurs except for two things. Yusuf lying on the ground bleeding, begging you with his eyes. And the flag about to fall into the mud, the honor of the okak itself. Here it is, the greatest decision of your life. Will you hold the sankak or carry Yusuf to safety? If the sankak falls, your unit's honor is stained forever. You will all be called Kesasiler, cowards. If you abandon Yusuf, you leave your brother to die. Most men would choose their brother. The heart commands it. But you are a recruitment. You are a servant of T. You state. Your only family is your unit. Your father is the flag. You grit your teeth so hard you could break them. Tears burst from your eyes, but your body moves, and you reach not for Yusuf, but for the flag. You catch it in the air with your left hand and raise it high. With your right hand, you slash the throat of the enemy who struck Yusuf. But it's too late. You turn to Yusuf. He sees the sankak in your hand. He shows no resentment, only a sorrowful acceptance. Give me your blessing, he mouths silently, and he takes his last breath under the boots of the enemy. You, with the sankak in your hand and your brother's blood on you, charge forward screaming, Allah, Allah. In that moment, the human in you dies completely. What remains is a pure, merciless, duty-bound machine of death. The slaughter you unleash in that breach will be spoken of for years. The fortress falls. But the taste of victory is ash. At night, survivors divide the spoils. You sit alone, cleaning your bloody sword. The Bolak Agassi approaches. Because you saved the sankak, he gives you his own dagger. This decision made you unforgettable, he says. You are now the Korbasai of this Orda, the commander. Your rank rises. Hundreds of soldiers are now under your command. But when you enter your tent that night, the weight of that rank crushes you. Yusuf is gone. The only person who knew your past, who understood you, is gone. Victory is nothing but a lie told by the living. The only truth is loss. The firelight fades, and in the darkness, the icy coldness deep within your soul becomes permanent. Years later, when you return to Istanbul, you find the city the same, but yourself a stranger. You are no longer that young, excited soldier. You are middle-aged. Gray strands have settled into your beard. A sword scar marks your face, and a rheumatic pain lives in your left leg. You are now a senior Janissary Agassi so Janissary commander. Your position within the OKAK has changed. You no longer run across battlefields. You run the politics of the core. The coffee houses in the Etmidani are your office. A smoky place filled with the scent of coffee and tobacco, where only whispers and conspiracies are spoken. A long pipe in your hand, sable fur on your shoulders, a massive ring on your finger. Young Janissaries pass by, saluting nervously. You look at them and see your own youth, that pure version of yourself. You pity them. Your personal transformation is almost complete. Idealism has given way to pragmatism. You have learned that the state is governed not only by war, but by money. Being a Janissary is no longer just soldiering, it is a trade network. You begin dealing in Isame, the pay certificate. You buy the pay registers of dead soldiers, make it appear to the state that they are alive, and take the money. Things you once called haram now feel like your right. In Galata, you extort protection from shopkeepers. Your weakness, a growing desire for power and comfort. Your strength, you know the city's underworld and palace intrigues like the palm of your hand. One day, a Qadi judge, who acts against the interests of the OKAK, tries to unjustly punish a shopkeeper under your protection. The Qadi represents religious and state law. Once you would have bowed your head and obeyed. But now, you go to the Qadi's mansion. 10 armed, mustachioed, fearless Selu enforcer. Janissaries walk beside you. The Qadi shouts, "This is a court, Aga." One does not enter with a sword. You approach with those heavy steps. You strike your staff hard on the Qadi's desk. You don't grab him by the collar, but your gaze crushes him. "Law," you say without raising your voice, "is the shadow of our sword, Qadi Effendi. We shed our blood so that you may pass judgment here. Now you will release my man." This is a direct threat. A challenge to state authority. Will you step back and seek legal ways, or will you bring down the power of the OKAK like a sledgehammer? You bring down the hammer. The Qadi sees the dark determination in your eyes. He is afraid. He tears up the verdict. When you step outside, your men look at you with admiration. Divlet Luagam, they say. But you know, what you did wasn't heroism, it was tyranny. You have become a power above the order you swore to protect. The dark transformation is complete. You are no longer the Sultan's servant. You are the Sultan's partner. At times even his Fia. That evening, smoking your hookah in a waterside mansion overlooking the Bosphorus, you think. Yusuf's death, those tunnels, that hunger, all of it for this power. But are you happy? No. You are only powerful. And in this world, happiness is for fools. Power is for those who survive. You look at the spoon, that wooden spoon you placed on your bork. That spoon is your life. Ye devlet basa ye kuzgun lace. So, either the state rules or the raven feasts on the carcass. They say, you have already fed the ravens, now you stand at the head of the state. Smoke rises, the smoke from your hookah blends with the misty silhouette of Istanbul, and you know very well who the true owner of this city is. You are in your early 70s. You are now known as Janissary Commander, living not in the barracks but in a modest yet respected house assigned to you. The yataghan hanging beside your bed is no longer a weapon of war, but a monument. Your hands tremble, yet your vision toward the past grows clearer. Your body is tired, but your spirit remains committed to the recruitment oath. You look around and see with horror, the discipline you built has become a burden. The Janissary now use the Kapikalu identity, into which you poured your entire life, as a tool for trade. Isame, the pay certificate, trafficking, bribery to enroll in the OCAC, and worst of all, evasion of military duty. The walls you built with your cold sword are rotting from within. Your greatest fear, Bozakluk, now lingers in every coffee house like cigarette smoke. One morning, a secret decree arrives from the palace. Rumors spread that because the Janissary endlessly refused to march to war and instead focus on trade, the Sultan is considering shutting the OCAC down entirely. This is not merely the loss of a profession. It means the erasure of your life, of Yusuf's blood, of every breath taken at Sijitvar. If the OCAC is dissolved, your legacy ends in shame. You move immediately. You gather the elders of the OCAC, even the most corrupt of them, and form one last Divan So council. Everyone in the room is full of fear and panic. The solution is to restore discipline. But Abalik Basi, a young commander enriched by bribes and with powerful connections in the palace, opposes your decisions. He laughs at your final attempt at discipline. He stands up and speaks loudly. We are not the Sultan's servants. We are masters now. Fighting is foolish. We use our power to trade. These words strike directly at the Kapikalu spirit carved into your mind since the age of 7. That young man is taking away the identity you sacrificed everything for. This is the moment where your recruitment identity clashes with your authority as Janissary commander. You fix your eyes on the arrogant gaze of the young Balak Basi. You are a warrior nearing 80. He is a spoiled rich boy barely 20. Will you spare him and calm the palace's fury, or punish his betrayal and save the soul of the OCAC? Forgiving him keeps you safe. Punishing him delivers one final lesson to the whole empire. A decree leaves your lips. Your blood need not be shed, your betrayal must be cleansed. The order is the execution of the young Balak Basi. The justification is simple. Betrayal of the OCAC and the servant spirit of the Sultan. Once again you choose institutional order over personal safety. This is the most consistent decision of your life. The same harsh expression you wore at Sijitvar, when you left Yusuf's blood behind, appears on your face. The incident terrifies Istanbul. No one touches you because everyone understands. The old Aga is ready to spill even his own blood to save the OCAC. Your action temporarily halts the Sultan's decree. You have extended the soul of the OCAC by another decade. But the cost of this victory is absolute loneliness. You look out the window. You are no longer a person. You are a principle. Fear gives way to acceptance. I know it will end after me, but not during my time. The firelight shines on your face, and the wrinkles there show how expensive it has been to remain loyal to the recruitment oath. You are on your final duty. Your body is no longer armor, just a tired frame that has abandoned steel. The air in Janissary commander chamber feels as if it has absorbed all the coldness of the barracks. You lie in your bed. At your side stand a dutiful Sekban guard, and an Asibisai commander, holding the wooden spoon. They are your last family. No physician or Haja is brought to you, because even in his final moment, a Janissary trusts only in the discipline of the Okak. Your breathing is thin and broken, like the final breeze after a storm. The world outside drifts away from you. Smells, sounds, all fade into a mist. The only thing left is the weight of your body and the slow rhythm of your stone-like heart. You close your eyes. Memories flash with the chaos of a battlefield. Your mother's cries when you were 7, the warmth of Yusuf's blood, the arrogance on the face of that corrupt Balakbasi, the coldness of the blood of those young men you executed by your own hand. And then the great question echoes in your mind. What were all these sacrifices for? Your heart tries to whisper human remorse. Perhaps you should have died as Luca. But instantly, centuries of Kapikulu identity drown out that whisper. All that remains is that ruthless wisdom. You performed the greatest duty a person can have. You chose order over chaos. With your last effort, you strike your chest. This is your final salute, not to yourself but to the Okak. You feel the sacred Anatolian soil placed in your palm by the Sekban. That soil is the final proof that you upheld your oath. The Asibisai whispers the sacred Bektasi prayer into your ear. In that last moment, you do not speak the Sultan's name. The final syllables that leave your lips summarize your entire life. Okak and Gulbank. And with those words, your soul leaves your body. At the moment your death is announced, a loud cry echoes through the barracks. The cauldron is overturned. The overturning of the Okak's sacred symbol is the last gesture of duty for a great Aga like you. You did not die as a man, you died as the strongest stone of an institution. They bury you on the nameless hill of the Janissary cemetery. No ceremony, no spectacle. Your tombstone is simple, but its meaning is immense. It carries no name. Only the shape of your Janissary cap and the figure of the Yatagan. This marks the eternity of your loyalty, not your bloodline. Your legacy is the thousands of disciplined Janissary in coarse-wool uniforms that you leave behind. Your life became the steel armor of an entire empire. Your death does not mean the end of the order. Your death means that the order is passed on to the next generation. Your blood became the foundation of the system. You were a warrior your entire life. Your greatest victory was not the day you yielded your sword, but the day you surrendered your soul.